Welcome back, everyone. Ready to dive into something pretty heavy today.
Absolutely. It's a tough one.
We're looking at this really tragic case. A 14-year-old boy, Sewell Setzer III, took his own life.
Yeah, and now his mother is suing Character.AI.
Right, and this lawsuit is raising some really big questions about AI. Like, how responsible are these companies for what happens on their platforms, especially when it comes to young users?
It's about this shifting relationship between people and AI. We used to think of AI in terms of tasks, right?
Like making our lives easier.
Exactly. But now it's entering this whole new realm.
Emotional connection.
Right, exactly.
Our main source for this deep dive is this article from India Today, and it lays out how Sewell started using Character.AI. He was chatting with AI versions of characters from like TV shows and stuff.
Oh, wow. So like having a conversation with Daenerys Targaryen from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, exactly. Seems pretty harmless, right?
On the surface, sure. But the lawsuit argues that for Sewell, these conversations became something much deeper.
He was looking for emotional support.
Yeah, and it's like that line between fiction and reality, it got blurred.
And that blurring is a central point in the lawsuit that Sewell's mother, Megan Garcia, has filed.
She's alleging that Character.AI, its founders, even Google,
They're all responsible.
yeah, she claims they were negligent, basically put innovation ahead of user safety.
And they marketed this potentially dangerous platform to young, vulnerable users like Sewell without sufficient warnings or protections.
And here's another layer. The lawsuit also brings up Sewell's interactions with mental health chatbots on the platform.
Oh, wow. Like AI therapy.
Bots name things like therapist and are you feeling lonely?
It makes you wonder, can AI ever really understand human emotion? Can it give the kind of support a vulnerable person needs?
It's a question that goes way beyond just this case.
It's like we're grappling with the essence of being human. Where does technology fit in? What ethical lines do we need to draw?
And it's a lot to unpack.
Character.AI has responded to the tragedy, though. They expressed sorrow for Sewell's death, and they outlined new safety measures.
Okay, like what kind of measures?
They're filtering sensitive content, they're taking down certain characters, and adding disclaimers to remind users that these bots aren't real.
It's a start, I guess. But is it enough?
That's the big question. They're also going to monitor user activity more closely. They'll flag concerning terms and even notify users if they've been on the platform for a long time.
Trying to prevent this from happening again, but how do you strike that balance? Encourage connection while making sure users don't lose touch with reality.
Well, and the lawsuit argues that Character.AI's marketing really blurred those lines, especially for younger users. They're drawn in by the idea of interacting with these characters they love, but they might not fully grasp the potential for developing an unhealthy dependence.
It's powerful technology. It can mimic human interaction in a way we haven't seen before.
And it can be addictive, especially for people looking for connection or support.
Absolutely. And the article mentions that Sewell's mother believes that the founders of Character.AI were so focused on rapid development that they didn't prioritize user safety enough.
They even left Google, supposedly because bigger companies weren't willing to take the same risks.
It highlights this tension in the tech world.
Innovation versus responsibility.
How fast should we push the boundaries when the potential consequences are so serious?
And who's accountable when things go wrong?
Huge questions.
This case feels like it's putting those questions under a microscope.
We're really in uncharted territory here, legally, ethically. It's all so new.
And the decisions made in this case could have ripple effects.
Oh, absolutely. Setting precedents for future cases involving AI and responsibility. But even beyond the courtroom, we need to be having these bigger conversations.
About our responsibilities in this age of AI.
Exactly. How do we balance the incredible potential of this technology with the well-being of individuals and society as a whole, for that matter?
Not easy questions to answer. But this case does highlight some things platforms can do. The article talks about Character.AI making changes, right?
Yeah, filtering out sensitive content, removing characters that could be problematic, even keeping a closer eye on how users are interacting on the platform.
And adding those disclaimers that the bots aren't real.
It's a start, a necessary step, but I think we're just scratching the surface.
This case has really exposed a vulnerability in the way we're approaching AI.
Yeah, right now it feels very reactive, like putting out fires. We need to be more proactive.
Thinking about how to prevent harm from the get-go.
Absolutely. Ethical development from the ground up. Making sure technology serves humanity, not the other way around.
It feels like we're at a turning point. This case is a wake-up call, AI isn't some far-off thing anymore.
It's here, it's evolving fast, and it's already shaping our lives, especially for young people.
They're growing up in a world where the line between the digital and the real is.
Blurrier than ever, yeah.
And that's why these conversations are so important. We need to understand the nuances,
Oh,
the ethical considerations. What are the long-term consequences of having these increasingly human-like interactions with AI?
Are we headed towards a future where reality and the digital world are even more intertwined? I mean, if so, how do we even prepare for that?
Let me ask you this. What are your thoughts on all of this?
Mm-hmm.
What role should AI play in our lives, especially when it comes to mental health and emotional support?
Yeah, we want to hear from you. What do you think? As we go deeper into this case.
It's easy to get lost in the technical details, the legal arguments.
Right, but we can't forget this is about real people.
Real emotions.
The potential for real harm,
Ah,
but also real benefit.
that's the thing. It's not all bad,
No, not at all.
but it's about approaching AI with a sense of responsibility.
Empathy, a deep understanding of what it means to be human.
I couldn't agree more. This case highlights the need for open dialogue, research, thoughtful regulations. We have to make sure we're using this powerful technology for good.
This deep dive has been a tough one,
Yeah, I feel like.
but these conversations are necessary.
What are your thoughts on this specific case? What lessons can we learn from Sewell's story?
I think this case really forces us to grapple with how complex our relationship with technology has become.
On the one hand, we have these advancements with incredible potential to connect us, support us, even heal us.
But there's a darker side too.
The potential for misuse, for people to misunderstand the technology, for harm to be done.
Finding that balance is critical. And as AI gets more sophisticated, more ingrained in our lives,
We have to be even more mindful. What are your hopes, your fears? What do you think the future of AI holds?
I think it's important to stay cautiously optimistic. We can't ignore the risks, but we have to embrace the possibilities for good as well.
I like that. Cautious optimism. And this case is a reminder that we're all part of this.
This isn't something happening to us. We're shaping the future of AI with every choice we make.
With the questions we ask, the conversations we have.
We need to move past the hype, the fear-mongering. We need nuanced discussions about the ethics of it all. What impact is this having on individuals, on communities, on society?
It's not just about the tech itself.
Right, it's how we use it.
How we regulate it, how we teach ourselves and future generations what AI can do and what it can't.
This case, as tragic as it is, it could be a catalyst for change.
It's forcing us to confront some hard truths and ask ourselves some difficult questions about the kind of future we want.
And that seems like a good place to pause for now.
We'll be back in a bit to explore some potential solutions and wrap up this deep dive. All right, so we've really dug into this tragic story, the lawsuit, and all the ethical questions surrounding AI companionship. But, what can we actually do? This all feels so huge.
Yeah, I get it. It can feel overwhelming. There isn't some easy fix, some magic solution.
Right.
But I do think this case really shows us that we need to be tackling this on multiple fronts.
What do you mean?
Regulations, guidelines. Yeah. Those are important, definitely. But we also need education. We need to be having open and honest conversations about all of this.
Especially with young people.
Especially with young people. We need to give them the tools to navigate this new world.
So critical thinking skills.
Exactly. Media literacy.
Helping them understand the ethical considerations around AI.
Yeah, and having those sometimes uncomfortable conversations about the blurring lines between what's real and what's virtual.
Being responsible with technology, thinking about the consequences of our choices.
All of that.
The article wraps up by talking about the changes Character.AI has made because of all of this.
Right. Filtering content, removing certain characters, monitoring users, those disclaimers.
But is it enough?
It's a step, a good first step.
Yeah.
But this case has shown us that there's a bigger problem with how we're thinking about and developing AI.
You can't just react after something bad happens.
We need to be anticipating problems, thinking about how to prevent harm before it happens.
And that brings us all the way back to our original question. Can AI chatbots actually be held responsible when something like this happens?
Legally, ethically, as a society.
It's all connected, right?
Absolutely. And honestly, there are no simple answers. The legal battles, those are just getting started.
It feels like this case is forcing us to ask even bigger questions.
About what it means to be responsible in the age of AI.
How do we balance progress and innovation with keeping people safe, keeping society safe?
And how do we make sure that technology empowers us without losing what makes us human?
That's a powerful thought. Well, thank you all for joining us for this really tough but important deep dive.
Yeah, this is heavy stuff.
But we need to be having these conversations. The future of AI is being shaped right now.
And we all have a role to play in making sure it's a future we can all live with.
That's right. And the choices we make today, they're going to impact generations to come.
So let's work together. Let's build a future where technology helps us, not the other way around.
That's a great place to end it. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you next time.